Alright, so today we'll be covering the more advanced materials in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Now, in this tutorial I'm going to teach you how to use the normal map plugin, which supports both normal maps and, believe it or not, reflection maps, which will come in handy. As for static objects such as buildings and roads, unfortunately they're not supported. However, weapons, pedestrians, and the character model, the main character, CJ, these ones can be modded. Obviously I will be going over how to modify the textures and, amplify the quality of them in a different tutorial, but not in this one. So without further ado, let's get started. So if I type in normal map plugin, it's on the GTA forums. I'll put the link to this in the description. It's this one here by DK22pack. This normal map plugin will allow for normal maps and reflection maps. However, you don't get access to the specular maps, which is one of the downsides, but it's really not a big downside. So what this does is it allows you to add additional detail to the models without increasing the poly count. They're very useful. They're used all the time, even in modern titles for video games, and they're even used in 3D architectural renders, the photorealistic ones. Now, to get this running, simply just download it, go to the link, takes you to the media file, and then you just drag it into the directory. The installation's pretty simple. If you've done mod installations before, then yeah, you should know what you're doing. If you don't know, then I strongly advise you probably don't mess around with these advanced materials because they are very tricky to work with. Now obviously, if you have the version 2 of this game, the Steam version's version 3, and obviously the version 1 retail disc you're alright with, you will need the ASI loader, and I advise, silence ASI loader. Again, I'll put the link to this in the description. What this will do here is downgrade, what this will do here is allow this mod to run. Again, simple case of download and drag and drop it in. So I'm going to go to my directory. Now in the normal map plugin, you'll get a folder called Tools. I've renamed mine to Normal Map Tools, and in here you'll have NM Mat Build. Now, this will be using to update the models and tell them to make use of the normal map, and obviously the reflection map, which I will get to obviously in the video. I'll show you how it all works and everything. So that's just sort of like the prelude, and if you are running version 2 of this game, you will have to downgrade the game, and I'll put a link to the GTA SA downgrader. It's a very useful tool. Again, I'll screen the link just in case you have version 2. Yes, you will need to downgrade it to version 1. And then with that you can then run silence ASI loader and then finally get the normal map plugin set up. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that I need to talk about is this mod only works with pedestrians, the main character, and weapons. It doesn't really work on static objects such as buildings and roads. For that, in my next video, I'll show you how we can polish the buildings and roads and things like that with the normal maps and the specular maps that were included in the game, which is why I brought them up before. However, the first thing I want to show you is the weapons and pedestrians. These work differently to the player model, mainly because if I go into the models, anything that's in here, the GTA 3 image file, will work the way I'm going to show you now, but any of the player images, it's a lot more simple. The reason why I want to leave that to the end is just so we've gone through the main chunk, and then this is just a little bit different. But anyway, without further ado, the first thing I'm going to do is go inside my modding tools and open the TXT workshop, and then we're going to open the Grand Theft Auto 3 image. Now I'm going to edit the let me think of a weapon. Obviously this method, it works for both the pedestrians and the weapons, but I'm just going to pick the weapons for now because they're a bit easier to find in my opinion. Believe it or not. I'm going to do the sniper. There we go. Alright, so what you want to do is open this here, and let me see. Actually, I don't think it's the right one. Silenced. Show. Actually, no. I think I am going to do the. Yeah, I'm going to do the MP5 weapon. So what we're going to do to generate a normal map from this, we're going to just hit export as PNG, put it on the desktop. do not change the name, it'll be a lot easier for afterwards. So I'm just going to hit save. And then you're also going to want to export the DFF, and I'll explain why afterwards. Just put that on the desktop, just so we know where it is. Alright, just minimize this for now. Now the next thing we are going to do is create the first map for this. So I'm going to start with the reflection map, since they're quite simple to go over in terms of how they work. I'm just going to wait for this to open. Alright, here we go. So simply with reflection maps, they work where if it's black, it's fully reflective, and if it's white, then it's not reflective at all. But say for instance you have a value in the middle, it'll be halfway between reflective and not reflective, so it'll be like a slight reflection. Anything that's very dark but not black will be a strong reflection but not a very strong one, and anything that's sort of round about here in the grayscale, so in the light greys, this will be ever so slightly reflective. So that's how it works in here. So to generate the reflection map, just quickly and basically, I'm not going to go into too much detail. Obviously you would have to up the resolution of this as well to get a clear reflection map and normal map, but for now it's just for the purpose of getting it done. So I want a very, start a new layer, I want a very rough appearance on the barrel, so let me just open that and spray this. I'll also make the butt, I think that's the butt of the weapon, not very reflective, and then everything else I'm going to make very, very reflective, just to give it that metal sort of look. Alright, there we go. Now I'm just going to go to File, Export As, and then at the end I'm going to put underscore R for reflection, and export. Sorry, I've just realised, big mistake I've just made there. Black is reflective, white is not reflective. I'm just going to colours, invert, and there we go. Okay, perfect. That's what we wanted. Right, don't make that mistake. I've made it so many times. Trust me. This is the third re-recording. Okay, so next thing we're going to generate is the normal map. There's a brilliant online normal map generator. Again, I'll put the link to this in the description so you can find it easily. And we just want to select the standard map here. Alright, so what you're going to see is this sort of messy looking cube. Just disable displacement, ambient AO, and specular. All we want is the normal here. Now as you can see, you want it to be blue, but not completely blue. So you got this thing here called the level. The level is how level, like flats, you want it. So just put this straight to the max, just for the viewing's purpose. And alright, as you can see, because the texture is a low resolution, that's where we're losing the quality here. I mean, obviously, if this was like a 1080, oh sorry, 1024, then it'd be a lot better. Now just adjust the strength, just so you can see it, but just so it's not like crackly. And you might want to adjust the sharpness as well. I think roughly around about here is the best we can get it for this. So yeah, somewhere around about here, roughly, is going to be where we want to get it to. And obviously you want to save this as a PNG. I'm just going to take the name here. It's in, and then hit underscore N for normal, and hit download. Alright, so I'm now going to go into my downloads folder, and as you can see I've got loads of different tests I've done here on different things. Alright, I'm going to put this over here. Okay, so in this texture editor with the MP5 texture, obviously if you've done a different weapon, then make sure you select the correct one, then hit Control Insert twice. So this way we've now got two things. We're going to rename this one to underscore R for reflection, and this one here underscore N for normal. Alright, now with the reflection selected, I'm going to select the reflection map, and then with the normal selected, we're going to select the normal map. Then just hit Save TXT, and it's now updated. Now the next step is where it gets a little bit more complicated, but not too complicated. So with that normal map tool that you downloaded before, inside that folder called Tools, you will find NM Mat Build. So in DK's normal map plugin, just navigate to the Tools folder. I would advise putting it on your desktop just for easier finding, but I've created a folder inside my directory called Modding Tools. Go to NM Map Build, and now you want to drag your DFF to this folder. Make sure it is in the folder, it has to be, and open up the text document NM. Now, basically, as you can see here, I've already edited the Tech 9. I believe when you open this for the first time, it'd be like Window or Willow or something like that. Now, you want to enter the name of the weapon. In this case, I'm just going to directly copy it just so I don't make any typos. And put this into the first section. So A is the DFF, which is indicated in the folder. And now you've got the texture name, which is, if I just minimize this real quick. Don't worry about the extension for this bit. Make sure as well, one little thing, that there's a space between each thing. If you accidentally hit backspace and try to compile it, which we're going to do in a second, there will be errors. So make sure there's definitely a space. Alright, and again, just going to paste that in there for the normal. Again, it will be _n because this time we are editing the normal map name. And then for the alpha, since there isn't one, there's just going to be a simple dash, which there is. And for this one, just set it to 2, 1, 1, and then 0. This is just maps and texture filtering. 2 is linear, so you'll get high quality texture filter. And then just leave it at this. Inside the documentation provided, if you do know what you're doing, then you can adjust these by generating maps. But for now, since we're not doing, and you don't need to worry about what those are, just leave it as the values you see here. And then for the reflection map, I've put this in here, and then just copy these parameters. One little thing is this will be 2.0 in your folder. I remember this. So you do want to set it to 1 just for testing purposes. You can do a higher value, and that will intensify the reflection, but for now, just set it to 1. And that's good enough. Then just go to File, Save, double check that everything's got a space between it and the values are the same as appears on my screen. Most of the values are the same for you inside that text document, and then just close it. Now, the final thing, just run it, and there should be no errors. If it says cannot find this, cannot find that, then you need to make sure that the DFF is in the folder, and then just make sure there's also spaces in here. And if it comes up like this, so weapon name, normal, reflection, and the reflection value, perfect, you've done everything correct. Now this here is updated, so I'll put this back on your desktop just so you can find it a little bit easier, and go to your TXT workshop or to any IMG editor, and then simply open up the GTA 3 image and navigate to MP5. There we go. Right, so with this file selected here, just right click, hit replace, and then select the DFF that we've just had in the image editor, and now it's updated and in the game. So that is the last step for weapons and pedestrians, and I'll show you what it looks like in game. Alright, so here it is in the game. As you can see, there's definitely been a reflection map applied. However, the only downside to this outcome was that the resolution was so low, it's hard to actually see the normal take place, but you might just be able to see around about the barrels, the vents and ports and little things, that there is a normal applied to that. I'll get a close-up in a second, but so far I'm just exhibiting the reflection. Yeah, I mean, overall it's it functions, which is a plus side. I mean, this took ages to get working, but as you can see here, you can see there's little impressions on the gun just above, so just in front of CJ's hand, just to the right. You'll be able to see those. Alright, now for the player model, it's slightly different, but in my opinion, it's a lot more easy. I'm just going to clear that file. Don't worry about that. So inside the modding tools, you want to go to the TXT workshop. And this time, instead of opening the Grand Theft Auto 3 folder, you want to open the player image folder. This is where all CJ's clothes, hairstyles, tattoos, this is where they're all stored. So in this case, I'm going to edit the vest that he wears, just for, easier. Actually, no, I don't think yeah, okay. I just realized that's the vest.dff. You want to go to vest.txt. and select it. Okay, so here's CJ's vest. Instead of exporting the texture, what we're actually going to do this time is export the TXT onto the desktop. So hit save, there we go. Now let's just minimize for now. Yeah, so go back into this, and then on the desktop open the vest.txt. It will appear the same. I'm just going to export this as a PNG onto the desktop. Okay, now we've got the vest texture. So you can do reflection maps for CJ's player model, but they work slightly differently, and in all honesty I've not really worked them out yet. It's quite straightforward in the documentation, but I couldn't actually get the game to start after I'd applied them, so for now I'll just do the normal. And one thing to note is you are going to definitely want to keep the alpha channel. Yeah, definitely. So I want to increase the strength just to emphasize the wrinkles, and I think I'm going to make it a bit sharper as well. So we can see there's a lot of intense wrinkles and folds and things like that. I'm going to call this obviously vest underscore n, and then hit download. Obviously I have edited this previously, so there's going to be a few different ones, but don't worry about that for you, there won't be. Oops. I'm going to want to get rid of that, vest underscore n, and minimize this and that. Right, now, yeah, so in the TXT workshop, just hit open TXT again, even though it's already open, select vest, and hit control insert. Now, you definitely are going to want to use an alpha channel for this one because the PNG is obviously present. NA, sorry, I was meant to select that, hit OK. I want to select that, copy, paste, A. So it should say vest N, vest NA. So make sure alpha is selected and then hit OK. And make sure it appears here just to double check. And now just select import vest underscore N. Now to make sure that the alpha is applied, just click down here and that should be white and that should be black. Alright, perfect. Mixed view, okay. And just hit save TXT. Make sure you definitely do click save, otherwise it won't actually update. Now these two here you can just delete, and you're now going to want to go to Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and just go inside the normal map tool that you downloaded. You will have a file called normal map underscore player. Double click that and just drag and drop it in, and that is it. So now if we jump in game, you'll see the difference it's made. Okay, so this is a much better example because the vest is a higher resolution image. You can see all the crease marks that have been added to CJ's vest. Yeah, I mean it overall buffs the quality. However, you might notice the vest is a lot brighter than the rest of CJ. This is down to the fact that the vest is now correctly responding to how the light should hit the image, whereas the rest of CJ, because it's just a flat diffuse, it's not getting the correct lighting and shadowing it should be getting. So if you did the whole of CJ's body with the normal map, then by all means, yes, you would have a very well lit CJ model, and overall it would be a little bit more brighter. So yeah, I mean here's a close-up of it. So as you can see, there's a lot more detail and the light reacts to CJ very, very well, better than before. And this is pretty much it for the first part of the advanced materials. In the next part we'll be going into looking at how to apply maps to the road and to the buildings. I mean, at the current moment, the normal map plugin does not support the other static objects because the vertex paint, I believe, conflicts with the normals and stuff, so that's why it can only apply to certain objects. But anyway, we still do have the reflection map which we can use on windows and things like that. And additionally, we do have the specular map which we can use on metal objects and things to emphasize those details. So that is it for the first part. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment if you got lost or confused. I mean, take note this is an advanced material thing, so I do expect you to have like bits of knowledge here and there. I can't really give you tutorials as well as other people do on how to use image editing tools and things like that. And plus I don't really have the time, nor would I consider myself a professional with image editing. Alright, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and leave a comment, like, subscribe if you want to. You don't have to, but it'd be nice if you could. Thank you.